Welcome to the Primal Pro Fitness Podcast, the Carnivore Muscle Pro, Jonathan Griffiths, and the Low Carb Consultant, Max Helmer.
You're muted.
There we go. That probably would help. It looks like we're live on our very first podcast together here, brother. This is going to be fun, man.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to this. This is a new podcast we decided to set up together. So Max and I are going to be doing the Primal Pro Fitness Podcast. All things animal-based, low-carb related in regards to diet, training, recovery, exercise, fitness, health in general. We're both quite a good wealth of knowledge, in my opinion. We'll have guests on from time to time, but we're keeping it very limited to like the sports fitness kind of background, really. So, for example, you're more likely to see Sean Baker on than you are to see Brenda, who does crochet at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So yeah. There we go. Yeah, Max, tell everyone about who you are, then what you do, and how you got into this fitness sort of lifestyle.
Yeah. So I've always been into health and fitness, and way back in the day. So I owned a CrossFit gym in Las Vegas. I got into CrossFit in 2010. I opened up my gym in 2012, the summer of 2012. But I've always been into health, fitness, working out, lifting weights, all those types of things. I was fat when I was a little kid. I got fat again when I got older. And when I got out of the gym business and I got into like my corporate career, let's call it, that is when I realized I could no longer, I was about 30 years old when I got out of the gym business. And that's when I realized you cannot outwork a bad diet. And so that's when I really started to slowly realize like my body was changing. I wasn't 20 something anymore. I was 30 something now. And you cannot outwork a bad diet. And I was feeling like trash. I was putting on weight. And that's what kind of set me on my little journey of listening to more podcasts, really understanding how important food is, the types of food that you're eating. And then that took me down this entire crazy rabbit hole of low carb, keto, carnivore, intermittent fasting. And as I started to incorporate these different things, I got different effects from different tools I was using. So now I think of a lot of these diets as tools. But I started to realize that these diets really are tools, and you use different tools for different things based off of what it is you're trying to accomplish, right? Like you're a bodybuilder, Jonathan. Like if you're eating OMAD 1 meal a day to kind of keep your insulin low and, lose weight, that's probably not the best tool to use if you're trying to maximize muscle mass, right? And you're trying to compete on stage. You might disagree. I don't know. That's why we're starting this podcast, and we're going to be talking about these things. And obviously we're going to be talking about today, can we actually build muscle on meat alone, which I think is going to be a really interesting topic, because I think it's also a nuanced topic. We can talk about carbs, if carbs are necessary, if they're not necessary at all. But I look at these diets as tools, and, a handful of years ago, I started the Low Carb Consultant podcast, and I've interviewed you, Jonathan. I've also been lucky enough to interview a whole bunch of other experts, doctors, trainers, coaches, athletes, all from different arenas. So it's not a carnivore podcast. It's not a keto podcast. It's not a low carb podcast. It's really a platform that brings all these individuals together to have these discussions, so the people out there can at least understand what these diets do, the different tools that you use for different scenarios, for different outcomes, and they can really kind of understand, okay, these are the problems I'm having. Let's try this out, or let's try this out, right? So it's really there for the listeners to kind of learn as much as they can about these different low carb strategies to find out what ultimately works from them. So that's kind of what I've been up to.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. It's great to hear you're sort of in the same frame of mind as me. And I'm Jonathan, obviously. I've got my degree in human nutrition. I'm trained in medical sciences. I'm the first professional carnivore bodybuilder. And what else am I doing? I live with autism and a chronic pain condition called CRPS. And yeah, I'm from the south of England. And I feel like I'm in one of those ANA meetings where you say, "Hi, my name is Bob, and I take too many drugs or whatever."
Yeah.
I drink 4 liters of water. I follow a carnivore diet. I do occasionally have meals at a family, stuff like that, every maybe 3 or 4 weeks if I'm not competing. Other than that, I'd say I'm very, very strict. My background is in bodybuilding, as you've alluded to. And, I do a lot of fitness kind of stuff, and I work with clients all over the world to help with their body composition and health goals. And I'm doing a pretty good job of it so far. And I've actually got the delight of a few people in the live chat today who are actually commenting in. So some of them are actually my clients. I appreciate how you treat you coming on. And what we'll do is we'll open up the panel maybe at the end, so for related questions to our topic today. So we're talking about, like you said, can you build muscle on a carnivore meat-only diet?
This should be good. I feel like this is going to be good.
Be a good talk. Yeah. So I mean, the thing is, we know both sides of the argument because we've tried both diets. The pro of having muscle, like, protein only versus protein and carbs sort of thing. You've got different benefits in some way. So I think a diet with more food options in it, you're going to be able to eat more food, which means you can increase the ceiling of growth that you might achieve. But I don't think that the rate at which you achieve, per kilogram of muscle growth or per 2 pounds of muscle growth, is any different. So I don't think having extra carbs is going to signal more of an anabolic pathway. I think that there's a threshold that is met through leucine. And we see this in studies where they've compared the anabolic pathways or the activation of certain enzymes and things when someone's eating just a bowl of protein versus a bowl of carbs. At the end of the day, we do need protein.
Yes.
But I think the main argument that I see, I mean, you can obviously chime in, but the main argument I see from the more carb-centric model of bodybuilding and building muscle is that it's just going to signal more anabolism by more insulin. But what do you think towards that? Because I've actually looked at a study a while back about this, and I wasn't convinced that the extra anabolic IGF-1 response by 10 or 11% was that significant, in my opinion. So what do you think?
Yeah. So this reminds me, so this is going to be a really fun topic to talk about today, because I think it can get people going in the comments, and I think you might be surprised to hear what my answer here is. So I think back to the podcast episode I did with Fred Hahn, right? You're very familiar with Fred Hahn. He's a low carb guy. He does slow burn resistance training, works out 2 times a week, very slow resistance training. Okay. I think depending on where the individual is coming in at, it matters. Let's say you're in high school, right? You've never lifted weights before. Okay. Can you build muscle on a meat-only diet? 100% you can. 100% you can, right? Because you have an untrained body. You have an untrained body. You're going to provide any sort of stimulus at that point if you're untrained. Any sort of stimulus you provide is going to probably build muscle. Okay. So, and if you were to eat a carnivore diet in high school, right? And of course you're eating the certain amount, if you're eating enough protein, of course, if you're eating carnivore, the protein is going to be adequate enough to build some muscle mass. You're going to put on muscle mass. Okay. I think where the conversation becomes really interesting is if you are trying to become like elite in a very specific category, okay? Like you're trying to step on the Mr. Olympia stage. Where do carbs really come into play? Yes, do carbs provide glycogen? Do they add a little bit more water to the body, right? Yes, water into the cells and the muscles, yes. But I think what carbs also do that people don't really understand is carbs can help you eat more food, right? Because of the insulin spike. If you are an Olympia athlete, and your goal is to put on muscle mass far beyond your genetic capability, your genetic potential, and yes, you're using anabolic steroids. I think we can all agree every Olympia athlete is using anabolic steroids. What are they doing? They are trying to put on more muscle mass than God gave them the ability to do, which in my opinion is not really ideal for long-term health and longevity purposes. Like your body does not want to hold muscle is such a crazy, it's like it's a metabolically expensive tissue to walk around with, right? And so if you are trying to put on more muscle mass, you have to eat more food. And in order to eat more food, what bodybuilders do is they have more carbohydrates, right? I think of Stan Efferding all the time. Like one of the reasons why he has like Monster Mash and fruit and rice in a lot of his diets in a lot of his meals is because that allows the individual that's trying to put on mass to eat more food because of the blood sugar spikes, right? If you have more rice in your diet, you can eat more food. If you can eat more food, you can build more muscle. But I think that might be another conversation, right? That might be another conversation. Like, is that healthy? Do we even want that? I think back to the Fred Hahn conversation, and what did he say? He said, the basic human, and for you, Jonathan, I think your genetics are a little bit different than mine. I think genetically, you have the ability to put on more muscle mass than the average male. I think we all agree that. You probably
structurally, yeah. When I was younger, yes, I was more muscular and faster, stronger than most people. Yeah.
Yeah, and you figured that out. And you figured that out at a young age. I realized very early on, I was not genetically best with the best physique, and I was not genetically best with strength. Like when we were in the gym room in high school, reaching out, like lifting weights with other guys, you probably realized really quick, like, oh shit, I can out bench and out squat and out lift a lot of these guys. Like I'm one of the strongest guys in the room. I was not that way. But my point here is this, going back to Fred Hahn, most human beings, like average human beings, males, let's just speak on males here because we're two guys. We probably have the ability to put on 20 to 30 pounds of muscle mass genetically without using steroids. That is our max, 20 to 30 pounds. That's what Fred Hahn was saying. If you want to go beyond that, that's where the anabolic steroids come in. That's where bringing in carbs comes in my opinion, to surpass your genetic capabilities. Is that healthy? I don't know. That's maybe a different conversation. We can touch on that today. Can you build muscle on a carnivore diet and meat-based diet? Yes. But I think the individual has to understand, based off their genetics and based off not using carbs, they are going to be capped. If they don't ever want to use steroids, and if they don't want to ever bring in carbs to eat more and more food, they will be capped at a certain, and that cap is around 20 to 30 pounds of muscle mass over your lifetime. And when I was talking to Fred Hahn, it was slightly depressing because I think we're all slightly delusional. Like, oh, if I change my macros or if I change my workout strategy, I'll be able to put on another 1, 2, 3 pounds of muscle this year. I honestly don't think that's the case. I think we have to be realistic with ourselves that if you want to put on more muscle than you're genetically capable to do, you either have to go the anabolic route and you're going to have to start bringing on carbohydrates so you can eat more food to put on more lean mass. That's my takes. But can you build muscle? Can you build muscle on a meat-based diet? Yes.
That's a good take for sure. It matches identically actually what I said in 2024 at the Carnivore conference in the UK. Someone asked me the same sort of question, where does the limit lie? Is it the average person can achieve the same muscle? Is it quicker? Is it slower? I think if you had, say, Eddie Hall, I don't know, Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah.
I think extreme large people that need to be strong or muscular. I think what you said was accurate. I think you need more feedings, you need more food. You got to get more food in to fuel that mass. I'm noticing now I'm probably at the bottleneck or near enough with my intake, the amount of food I eat, based on my digestive system. Now, if I reduce the meat by, say, 30%, let's swap that in with carbs, I'll be able to then exponentially increase the amount of food I could eat in terms of mass. The carbs will digest a lot quicker, obviously. So I'll be able to have a quicker sort of hunger signaling. So I can eat more food, like you said, so it increases that ceiling of how much you can eat. So bodybuilding at my level, you'll know if you're my sort of level or above. Getting bigger is a case of food. It's not a case of drugs. And drugs will help. They'll unlock that limiter, I guess you could say, to some degree. but the food is what gets you there, and every bodybuilder of a large size knows that. So your bottleneck is diet in regards to bodybuilding, not drugs and not training. And I think this always is true about the training as well. I think we come up with any sort of training program we like. Really, we're fighting like for pennies, but we're putting all this time into researching online, doing this, that, and the other. Like, I'd rather than ask me a question on this live stream right now and say, all right, Jonathan, I want to maximize my gains over the next year. Is it better off drinking skim milk or full fat milk? I'd rather you just spend the same amount of time it took you to think of that, to go outside in the sun and do some grounding. I think that would make more difference over the course of a year, sort of thing. But it's all these I can understand bodybuilders can be quite neurotic in that they like to follow a routine, and they want to optimize the routine. A lot of the questions I get aren't about optimizing the routine. They're just about, trying to find the next best thing. But bodybuilders, like you said, 20 to 30 pounds is the maximum amount of tissue you could probably gain as a natural bodybuilder over the course of your training career.
It's so depressing.
If you've gained 15 pounds, you're 3 or 4 years in, say, for example, you've got 5 pounds left. Say you're 23 years old or something. You start when you're 20.
Yeah.
You've got another however many decades left in the gym to get that last 5 pounds.
Oh, it's so depressing.
So I think we're squabbling. I think we're squabbling. So although in this podcast we obviously will be talking about the in-depth stuff, the ins and outs, the possibilities, the nuance. But I want to just point it out to people. I think if I went into a room and had to give everyone there either I guess you could say a gym bro diet, chicken, broccoli, rice, versus a carnivore diet with calories or energy intake matched, for example, just locked them all in there and said, all right, I want you to do some training for a year. You've got to stay in this house. You lot have got to eat that, and you lot have got to eat that. I think by the end of the year, the results would be about 50-50 in terms of half the people would find that they gained a good amount of muscle mass. The other half would find that they also gained a good amount of muscle mass. So if you then had a number and you said, with variables and things, I think, say the most they could gain is, say, 6 pounds in a year, for example. I think they'd both hit that 6 pound bracket. I think where their differences lie will be how they subjectively felt throughout that period. Were they cramming in food all the time? Were they always hungry? Did they sleep well at night? What are their individual bottlenecks? So bottlenecks you'll find are, one person will have a perfect diet, but they won't sleep at all. The other person will be really good at resting, recovery, relaxation, spas and massages and chiropractic work, body scans, blood testing, like anthropometrical stuff. But then they'll spend no time training hard in the gym because they're so pedantic about one thing. So I think if you marry the two together and at least get both at a good 7, 8 out of 10, then I think you're pretty much there and you'll get the results nearly just as quick. I think the outlier, in my opinion, is going to be the Eddie Halls, the Phil Heaths, the Ronnie Colemans of the world that have to eat so much food. I think if I walked into a room and say there's 100 people, it's a normal room, if there's a normal room out there, representative demographic of the average population, I think they'd all benefit most from a carnivore-centric diet, based on the fact that the amount of people that report, brain fog, fatigue, joint pain, all the negatives associated with bad health and subjective well-being. I think they'd have a lot easier time if they follow the carnivore diet than a Western diet. We'll obviously talk about bodybuilding here, but I think it's either end. So you've got 99% of people, 0.5% of people on one end where they're trying to get really, really big, and 0.5% of people where they're trying to do something and get really, really small, like, I don't know, for some reason they want to be anorexic. I don't know where the reason is, So you've got people on two different goals, and I think they represent the 1%. So I think fighting over what's better, this or that, I think it's a non-issue. When you sort of equate the actual dry muscle tissue in studies that they've accrued through, resistance training through either a high or low carb diet, they find it's about the same.
Here's something interesting you mentioned about like the goal piece. Okay.
Yeah.
And you mentioned like Ronnie Coleman, a whole bunch, Phil Heath, whole bunch of bodybuilders. People got to understand, right? If performance is your number one priority, okay, when you get to like a certain level, you can't have your cake and eat it too. And I'm going to give you some examples here, meaning this. If performance becomes your number one priority, if winning the bodybuilding competition or putting on as much muscle mass as possible or becoming Mr. Olympia. If that, people got to understand, your priorities have shifted, whether you recognize it or not, meaning your number one priority is performance, and underneath that somewhere is your health, right? It's you're sacrificing your health and your longevity for a goal. And I think a really good example that maybe can help people understand this, Chris Bumstead. Chris Bumstead has now completely changed he's done competing in Classic Olympia. He won for what, 4 straight? I think he won 4 or 5 straight, something like that.
6.
He won 6? Oh, damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, he won 6. I think he retired at roughly the age 31.
Okay.
So he got in and out quickly like Arnold did, basically.
Yeah, he got in and out quickly. And the guy from Brazil now won it. The guy that was always getting second place.
Raybon.
Yeah, dude, that guy is jacked. That guy has a crazy body. When I look at that guy and I look at like when I look at his forearms and his when I look at his biceps and his triceps,
But his thick arms.
He's got super thick arms. Like his forearms are literally just as thick as his upper arm. It's crazy. But Chris Bumstead retired early and now has changed his entire supplement protocol and the way that he trains to optimize his longevity, because he knows he has, with the drugs he has taken, the way he had trained, he knew that was not helping him out from like a long-term better life perspective. And I think that's what people need to understand. It's like, if your goal is to become like the best of the best, whether it's like a sprinter, whatever, you will sacrifice your health to become the best in whatever it is category you want. Like you will sacrifice your health. And so I think just people need to understand that. And I think for generally most people, it's good to have a goal. It's good to have a good body. It's good to have a good physique or whatever. But if you want to go beyond your limits, you have to recognize that you have to deprioritize your health and prioritize those goals. And you will sacrifice some years off your life down the line. Because I said this earlier, I don't think the human body, right? I don't think steroids are necessarily killing people. I don't. This might be a crazy topic. I don't think steroids are really killing people. I think it's the ridiculous amounts of muscle mass steroids enable you to hold on to, because your muscle mass is so metabolically expensive and taxing. Like, think about how hard your entire body, if you have 50 pounds of muscle mass that you are carrying around.
Voluntary muscle. I mean, it's voluntary muscle fibers. It's not
Exactly.
smooth muscle fibers like the ones in your organs. So it takes conscious effort and activation. And
your whole body
it takes
has to
more
work
conscious
harder.
effort. Way more mitochondrial function is being used up by your muscles. Yeah.
Yeah, and think about how your organs,
10
your
kilos lighter,
intestines,
more energy.
Yeah, your intestines, your heart, your liver, your kidneys, everything has to work. Basically, for you to walk around with 50 pounds of muscle beyond your genetic capability, think you're putting more miles on your car. That's what you're doing. You're just putting more miles on your body. Because your body has to work that much harder in order to maintain that muscle. Like the intestines, with the amount of food that you're eating, liver, kidneys, or all your organs have to work that much harder. You're just taking years off your life. That's what I personally think. So I think steroids enable you to do that. But I don't think it's the steroids. Are steroids toxic? Yes. But I don't think the steroids are actually killing people. I think steroids just enable you to carry on more muscle mass way past your genetic capability. But it's because it's so metabolically taxing over a long period of time, you're just putting more miles on your car. That's what I think is killing a lot of these young bodybuilders early, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'd even go more nuanced than that. I'd say it's the food. You know? I mean, we look at the food they eat. Rice, not too bad. You know, it could be a worse thing. Could be French fries. You've got chicken and lean beef. It's amino acids. It's real food, I guess. You've got broccoli, spinach. They can have problems. Too much fiber maybe. But I think a lot of the time it's the volume of food they're eating, the stress in their guts, the elevated blood glucose roller coaster, combined with anabolic steroids, combined with massive food intakes.
Yeah.
Combined with the need for more insulin secretion from the pancreas and desensitizing the tissue of the body to insulin itself. lack of testing, like blood testing, things like that. So I get all my stuff tested way more than most people I know, and I'm like,
you're like a biohacker.
well, I actually put money. I put money towards it. Yeah, I put money towards it because I think, how do you know what's working if you're? Well, I mean, one month I might have a great month where my pain threshold's higher and I've got more energy or something like that. But so okay, well, that month I'm recording what supplements I'm taking, what stack I'm taking, maybe what peptides or what hydration's like, all these different metrics. Then it turns out it might not be any of those things. It might be, mine was in a better range that month for some reason because I went out and ate liver a few times, stuff like that. So it's I'd say, obviously, I know you're not saying it's one thing, but I think it's a couple between like the extreme muscle mass from the anabolic ceiling that's raised, the extreme amount of food, and the lack of testing to identify problems themselves. Because most bodybuilders are like, "Oh, I've been doing this for years. Oh, I don't need to get this done." It's like, no, you can't just have a heart scan once in 2012 and think, "Oh, it's good back then. It's probably fine now." No, these things can elevate over the years. Maybe swapping out, I don't know, butter in your diet for peanut butter or almond butter. Maybe that's been having a deleterious effect on your body over the last year. Maybe you're someone that just has a jar a day and you don't even realise it, sort of thing. But yeah, I think that's where the problem lies. I think it's multifaceted. Kidney disease is the most common impactor. Then for bodybuilders, then it's heart disease, which isn't a surprise at all.
Yeah. And going back to what I think the big thing here is not just the muscle mass, it's the insulin. It's the chronic rise in insulin, right? I think that's doing it, but that just comes down to the frequency of which they have to eat. That's it, to maintain the muscle mass and work out.
Yeah.
But
yeah, people always arguing about, is it sugar or insulin? It's like, well, it's both. They go hand in hand, sort of thing. Sugar's going to glycate in your bloody bloodstream, coagulate tons of foam cells downstream from chronic inflammation and acidity. You've got the other side of it, which is the insulin, that has to fit a receptor on a cell to activate it or open or close the gates, basically. If that gate has been left open, it's more chronically left open and susceptible to injury through bad food and diet and stuff and bad lifestyle. More toxins come in, you've got more toxic body. So it's both, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Well, and here's what I wanted to come back to, like coming back to the topic, like, can you build muscle on meat alone? Taking into consideration your health circumstances. At this point, though, and I'm asking you this question, Jonathan, you probably couldn't bring in carbs. And one of the reasons why you couldn't bring in carbs is because the inflammatory effects that they would have on your body, right? It would create so much more pain and inflammation throughout your body. Like, you physically couldn't bring in more carbs. Would that be an accurate statement?
I'd say so, yeah. I think there's a threshold we all have. I keep mine below 30. That's through dairy, eggs, seasonings. I measure seasonings because I'm a bit OTT. Just because I know, some people that add a bit of fajita powder or something, before you know it, it's got like 10 tablespoons. So yeah, I'm careful with that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, 50 grams is about as high as I'd go if I was like off season, adding a bit of extra random stuff like extra heavy cream or yogurt. But 50 is as high as I'd go, and I could maintain personally.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, have we gotten any questions that come through?
Not yet, but if anyone does have any questions, now's a good time to ask. We've got a bit of time left. So George said, when I broke a world endurance record and climbed Himalayan mountains for fun, I was a carb loader at about 200 pounds. I'm now doing a strenuous hills, difficult terrain, 175 pounds of very low carb. Yeah, George is a slender gentleman. You wouldn't have thought it if you looked at his before picture. He looked like the fat guy down the pub sort of thing, having a pint in a bag of nuts. Now he looks like just a slim 61-year-old chap. So, got Juliet said, don't forget to hit a like, please. Guys, yeah, thanks very much for joining, by the way. I'm grateful that you're here and you're chatting your messages. So, Give me the muscles.
Give me the muscles.
Kimberly. I think Kimberly might be going live today on a premiere on my channel. In about, so my timing's off. About 6 hours time, maybe less. I did interview her. She's got a great story, Max. You'd love to talk to her. She's lives with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, hypermobility, various other sort of random health conditions, I guess you could say. 6 years carnivore.
Oh wow.
Kind of left the carnivore space a little bit in terms of like social media. Got a bit fed out of it, which I don't really blame her sometimes. But yeah, I've been coaching her for quite a long time now, and she's someone that has a very interesting story, and she had a massive weight loss of about 125 pounds.
Oh wow.
She went from morbidly obese to like now having like a fit body. She's like mid-40s, I think.
That's awesome. I love hearing stories like that, man.
Yeah, I can't get enough of it. I knew she did all the hard work. That's why I wanted to coach her. Because I knew anyone that's had that mindset to go from that weight to another weight, like halving their body weight sort of thing near enough, it's like
that's the perfect
that takes
client.
something,
Yeah, that's the perfect client though.
They've yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, yeah. I mean, George said that was behind the most devastating rugby team of all time. 2011 All Blacks. They weren't exactly short of muscle as an English rugby supporter. Still can't forgive him. Everyone's saying hello in the chat. And, Big Never said hit the like button. Yes, please. No questions so far, unless I roll down. Yes, Kimberly's actually a client of mine that does have carbs in her diet. There's like 20 grams, which is trivial, but
yeah, it's trivial.
I kind of
20 grams
explain
a
that
day.
in an interview with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not even enough to like think about really.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably hit about 50 or below, didn't you? It's all around there.
Yeah.
What's your current diet, just for the viewers to know? I mean, I know what it is, but yeah, what do you recommend?
Yeah, for sure. Well, what's interesting now what's interesting after you just literally asked that question, I'm currently trying to, I think I said this on our podcast last week, I'm trying to put on a little bit more weight. And the tricky thing with me and eating carnivore is I'm just so damn full all the time. So what I'm playing around with is I'm trying to add in another meal. And like this morning I have not eaten breakfast since 2018. I have not eaten breakfast since 2018. Today I had breakfast, which is crazy. Today I had breakfast. Today was the first day I've eaten breakfast since 2018. I usually eat 2 meals a day. I work out fasted. I'll have a lunch and then I'll have a dinner, and I'm good to go, right? It's always worked for me. But and if I'm going through like a strength program, I think was I mentioning this to you, or I'm bringing on Marty Gallagher. Marty Gallagher, old school, like weightlifting coach. He's coming on the podcast. I'm reading his book, and I'm going through I'm switching up my training, and I'm doing some strength training. So I'm doing a lot more squats, pause squats, deadlifts, sumo deadlifts, front squats, like old school traditional lifts, like bench press, standing shoulder press, just massive compound lifts, right? I'm just trying to get a little bit stronger. And I think what's holding me back is my food intake. That's what's holding me back. And one of the things that's holding me back is my appetite, right? It's because I eat primarily a carnivore diet. And I call that like the carnivore diet. It's what I eat during summertime because it's also easy to maintain a certain body weight, a certain body fat and leanness. But when you got to, if your goals change, which mine have, I have to also change up my inputs. And so what I'm doing is I'm bringing in like a breakfast, which I've never done before. So like this morning I had 5 eggs, 2 pieces of bacon. And I'm still trying to figure this out. Like, again, today was the first day first time I've had breakfast in freaking years. I don't feel weird. I don't feel off yet. I personally like the feeling of not having any food in the body when I work out or when I do podcasts like this. But it's like, it's like a high fat, high protein breakfast. Like I don't feel like any ill effects from it so far, but I'm going to work out later on, then I'm going to have lunch, then I'm going to have dinner. So I'm going to just track some things over the next, let's say 12 weeks, see how that goes and see if I can add on some strength, potentially add on some muscle mass, increase the weight on the lifts without dramatically changing my body composition in terms of body fat. Like, of course, I want to change my body composition, right, in terms of a higher lean mass, lower fat mass. But it's going to be interesting to see if I'm going to be able to put on some extra weight and increase the poundage lifted in the gym by adding in some extra meals just to get some more food in the body. That's what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's cool. The bit I liked most about that was the 12-week bit.
Yeah.
You know, you're not said to me, I'm going to try this for 2 weeks. You said 12 weeks.
Yeah.
4 months is a good amount of time to sort of say, well, you could look in the mirror in 12 weeks' time and think, my body is better, it's worse, I am stronger, I'm not stronger. And you have like consolidated physical or strength progression or health result. So
yeah.
I really like that part of it. It's a good idea.
It's hard to gather any data from doing something from 2 weeks. You know what I mean? Like,
you can't.
Yeah.
It's the same with medications and things I've been given over the years. It's I mean, you really need about 3 weeks for a lot of them to build up the system enough. How do you know if that last extra 5-10 days of testing isn't what you need to sort of say, oh, I've really climbed over a hurdle now? Yeah, I mean, when it comes to food intake, most men, the carnivore diet probably start at 2 meals per day. If they need more food, they're a cyclist, they're an endurance athlete, they do a lot of resistance training. Max out those 2 meals, so you're not doing a meal and a snack, you're doing 2 big meals.
Mm-hmm.
Eat a bit more. And we get to the point where you're just like, I can't finish this food, I'm just stuffed.
Yeah.
Then you add in the 3rd meal, and you sort of work your way back up again. So you do 3 meals, 2 meals on a snack, two meal, then 3 meals, then 3 meals on a snack, then 4 meals. You know, so you just titrate it up. But it's such a gradual thing, and I think you made a good choice there. I mean, having like a lighter breakfast along with your 2 usual meals is a good idea, because when it comes to gaining weight, if someone is weight stable, I mean, studies have suggested that you only need something like 10% more food to actually cap out the gains. Beyond that, you just gain fat. So the idea of like a dreamer bulk is not a necessary thing nowadays. If Max was say eating 200 protein, 200 fat per day on average, and I don't know, 0 carbs just for the hell of it, probably looking at, I don't know, 220 protein, 220 fat. Increase it by that much, because that's 10%. You know, then run that out for 3-4 weeks. And if body composition starts to make a negative shift, we'll dial it back down again just a little bit, maybe 215 and 215. It's like you know, muscle gain is such a slow process. You have to have a sort of progressive model, so you don't go all in at the start, because you know, it's like people that lose weight. Oh, what should my weight be? Oh, you need to work out your ideal body weight, then times that by grams to make your protein. That's not the right way of thinking, because you've not achieved that yet. Mm-hmm. Your intake and need should be based on what you need at that time for your body to get from A to B. Then to get from B to C, it's a slightly different program, not A to C and just forget about the stuff in the middle and just make one change. I'm very methodical. So with my clients, I'm sometimes in an off season, they might be lean, but I might actually reduce their food intake. That's happened quite a few times. By maybe 10% for a week. But you know, people might say, oh, why are you doing that in the off season? Well, they're telling me their digestive system's overloaded. They're absolutely shattered, sort of thing, from the food. Like, they just fill up the food coma each time. And they might start to actually have these, it might just be that they don't have time to eat during the day as much. So shaving off that extra few spoonfuls in the morning of, I don't know, eggs or something, that might be what they needed. So they've got more drive in the gym if they have to train at after meal 1, for example. You know, so they're not overstuffed. There could be all these different reasons. You just got to experiment. But the thing is, you sort of pull all these levers, but ultimately you have to have a grasp on how much you're sleeping, what your training plan is that training program progressing over time, and how much you're eating. If you can manage your food, recovery, your training, you only really need about 3 metrics there. So I think you can always hyperanalyze or overanalyze things sometimes when you're trying to get from A to B, but that should be reserved for people like Phil Heath, who are paying a nutritionist to do this. They're paying for a coach in the gym to do this. They're paying for a massage therapist. They're paying for someone to do all these things, so yeah, it should be goal specific for sure.
I was going to ask another question, and maybe if some of the listeners want to jump in here and talk about times of day when they train, because here's another thing I'm playing around with. So I usually train at 8 a.m. completely fasted, whether it's cardio or whether I'm doing strength or lifting weights, it's usually fasted. And for the most part, I feel pretty dang good. But over the summertime, right, my kids were home from school, I had to change up my schedule a little bit. And what I did was I moved my training towards the latter part of the day. So like afternoon, like around 1, 2, 3, or 4, like that time frame. And what I noticed was, and I want to get your 2 cents on this, Jonathan. I'd love to hear if the listeners have tried this. I have noticed that when I push the training towards the end of the day, 1, 2, 3, or 4, around that time frame, I feel stronger. I can actually lift heavier. I've got a little bit more endurance. I've got a meal in me. I've eaten already. Like maybe I ate at like 10 or 11, and then I wait a handful of hours and I train at 3 or 4. I feel much stronger in the latter part of the day than I do in the beginning of the day. Now, at 8 a.m., I don't have anything in me. I feel light on my feet. I feel good, especially when I'm doing cardio. I feel freaking amazing. But when it comes to pushing the weights, right, and I'm trying to build up strength and back squat and front squat, I've noticed that when I train on the latter part of the day and I get a meal in me, I can actually lift heavier. And I don't know if that has anything to do with the testosterone slightly being, I've heard that the ideal time for a man to train is like noon or 1. That's when the testosterone peaks and then it comes back down. But I don't know what your thoughts are on that. I'd love to know what the listeners think about that. Have you played around with different training times to see how you feel when you're stronger, when you're not?
Yeah, anecdotally, it's across hundreds of people. So, you're asking a body composition coach when strength trainers that I work with feel best when they train fasted or fed, what sort of time of day. It's 50-50. In my head, though, logically speaking, it'd make a bit more sense that the person was not so much time of day or fed to certain, fed or not fed. It's more so, when are they hydrated? So if they get straight up out of bed, then go straight to the gym, they're probably not hydrated.
That's hard.
I'd rather they spend half an hour pushing it back and have something to drink, something like that. Do they have enough electrolytes in their system for the food?
Yeah.
Have they sweated it out all night? That's another thing to think about. You can't contract muscle fibers fully without enough electrolytes in the body. ATP production goes down as well. Is your core temperature higher or lower? So throughout the day, you'll have hotter and colder periods. If you've eaten food, your core temperature will be higher. You've got a thermic effect of food from protein, which is about 30%, carbs, which is 3%, and fats, which is 0 to 1%. So if you're eating a high protein carnivore diet, meat sweats, I'm sure core temperature will be higher, which means your body feels more safe, which means you might have more proprioception of your muscles, in that you can lift more calmly and smoothly because there's, how do I put it? There's less water stuck in your body from just lying still all night, or you're not as inflamed, like you're a bit more limber because you've moved throughout the day, that kind of thing. So I wouldn't say so much as regards from a very myopic, I guess you could say, standpoint. I don't think it's a time of day. I don't think it's whether you're fed or not. I think it's whether or not your body at that point in time fits into that bracket of, yes, I'm hydrated, I've had the salts, I've had the electrolytes, I've had the water. I've got enough muscle glycogen to perform whatever that task is. I think that's the most important thing. Me personally, based on my schedule, for me, based on my digestion, painkiller medication use, all my personal stuff, so unique to me only, I have to say I prefer training after one meal, ideally about 11 a.m. So I eat at about 8 a.m. roughly, train at about 11. Gives me just enough time for the stomach to clear a little bit. But my training's about an hour roughly. I'll eat my next meal about 1, but my meals beyond that are timed based on hunger rather than trying to just wedge it in.
Yeah.
If I'm hungry at 1:30, I'm going to eat at 1:30. If I'm hungry at 12:30, I'm going to eat at 12:30. think you can't really out-hack your biology in that kind of sense. I will argue, though, people that are more advanced, they might be better off sticking to a more timed kind of routine, just so they can make sure that they get their food in. But they're only going to have that timed routine after months or weeks or years of experience. They're not going to know after 2 weeks, I feel a bit better doing that. No, you need to look at what you've been doing on average over a period of time. So yeah, that's my nuanced opinion. So
no, I think that's good.
It doesn't really answer your question, but it gives you an idea of where someone needs to be at what point in time to train most effectively.
And the hydration piece makes the most sense, right? Like, think about it. Like, if you sweat all night long, like I'm a big night sweater, like I sweat a lot. If I were to wake up and first thing I do was maybe have a sip of water and then try to hit the garage and do like a 5 a.m. workout, that would just not work for me. You know what I mean? Like, I need to get a lot of water. I need to get a lot of salt. I need to get a lot of potassium in my body. Like, I got to get the electrolytes in my body, or my muscles are just not going to want to contract. So that's why I wake up at 5:30, and then I usually fast, coffee, water, and then I can work out at 8 a.m. But I just have noticed better strength after I get a meal in and I train later on in the afternoon. But again, like you said, it's nuanced. Everyone's a little bit different. And also everyone's got different schedules, right? Everyone's got work in the middle of the day. Like, you got
to fit.
Yeah, you got to make it fit and do what works best for your schedule. So you just got to get it in when you got to get it in. You know, I totally respect the people that wake up, roll out of bed, go to the 5 a.m. workout. I totally respect that. But man, that just would not be my jam. And do, yeah. Or like they do a CrossFit class. Like, I used to teach a 5 a.m. CrossFit class. You know, these people would be waking up at 4:30 in the morning, rolling out of bed, coming in and doing a really hard workout. And I was always blown away, because it's like a 5 a.m. CrossFit class. Like, for me, like, that just wouldn't work. I don't have anything in my body, not enough fluids for me to be getting the type of performance that I would want to see. You know what I mean? So again, it's nuanced, but I just thought I would ask that question, because that's what I'm playing around with right now.
Yeah, that's actually what Juliet was asking in the chat as well, so I think we covered that quite well. Juliet, we've just answered your question if you've just seen it and you're looking after the fact. So have a look, and that will be all about meal timing and what it depends on, things like that. And we've just went for a whole segment there. So Ron Jovi said, big fan of both your channels, 17 months carnivore, 50 years old and live 4 days a week. I've lost 90 pounds, reversed 12 type 2 diabetes and hypertension. Been stalled for a few months at 206.
Good for you, man.
Well done. Nicely done. Gone from a 300 pounder to a 200.
Been stalled for a few months at 206 to 210. Lost 90 pounds. Would you got any advice for him, Jonathan? 17 months carnivore, lost 90 pounds. That's fucking awesome. Good for you, man.
It depends where his diet started when he started carnivore, where it is now, and how that weight came off at what period of time. Like, did it come off in chunks? Was it after certain changes he made? If I had that picture, I'd be able to sort of give a better idea, but loosely, I don't even want to speculate. I would just say eat less food, but the thing is, that's damaging advice to someone if they're eating just chicken breasts for like the last 2 months, you know. So
exactly,
I couldn't really say.
Yeah.
George said, you'll be good at this question. Is carb cycling something to consider?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely consider it. It kind of depends on what the overall goal is, right? Like, if your overall goal, like if you want to be in ketosis, for instance, right? It depends. Like, are you working out for anything? Are you trying to lose weight? Are you doing ketosis right now, or a ketogenic diet or a carnivore diet for like mental cognitive benefits, right? Because once you bring in the carbohydrates,
strict carnivore plus coffee.
You strict carnivore. Okay. But it also comes down to why you're doing strict carnivore. Like, why are you doing strict carnivore? Is it for body composition purposes or mental purposes, like feeling better, anxiety, depression, all those things? Because once you start bringing in carbs, right, those things can come back. I've talked to enough people that have been on a carnivore diet that had depression, anxiety, mental health issues. They bring in carbs, they swing completely back the other way. So it kind of depends on why you were doing carnivore in the first place. But if you are thinking carb cycling, oh man, this brings me, who did I have on the podcast? He's a British guy. You might know him.
Al Reeves.
Yes. Yes, that's him. You got it. He's a big keto. He does a cyclical ketogenic diet. That's what he does. And he brings in, it's crazy. So he'll bring in 300 to 400 grams of carbs. I believe it's twice a week. Twice a week. That's what he does. And it's usually from sushi. If I remember correctly, it's usually from rice or sushi.
Rice or rice cakes, yeah.
And I'm trying to remember back from what he said, but he is also he has an amazing physique for his age. He trains with Dorian Yates. You know what I mean? I think Dorian does the same type of diet, doesn't he, Jonathan? He does like a cyclical ketogenic diet.
Whole food, lower carb.
Yeah.
I'd say he's in a low carb spectrum eating, yeah.
Yeah. But it kind of depends on what the overall goal is. And from everything that Alan has posted, it seems like that is working for him. But I don't know if I don't believe he has any like mental health issues, mental illness. So bringing in the carbs don't impact him from a negative standpoint. He's just doing it to kind of rev his system back and forth, fill his muscles up with glycogen, and then he doesn't need any carbs for like 3 or 4 days, and then he smashes 300 grams of carbohydrates. It works for him. And I believe he tests his ketones. I want to say he tests his ketones after having 300 grams, and he's still producing trace amounts of ketones. I believe he said that. So it works for him.
It sounds about right, yeah. George, you don't need to do it. The thing is, if George, you're out one day and you're like, oh, I really fancy an ice cream or steak and potatoes, want rice, potato, for whatever reason, you could justify it by saying, look, I'm carb cycling today. Make it seem like you got some sort of technical biological biohack when really it's just a show. So yeah, I've obviously tried it in every different way you can think of. The main reasons a bodybuilder would do carb cycling is to keep the metabolic rate upregulated and not prone to downregulation of the thyroid receptor through the reduction of deiodinase enzyme, basically the conversion of T4 to T3. It basically upregulates that when you have high circulating insulin levels. You can achieve that for 3 different ways. You can eat a bit more carbs. It might be inflammatory to you, but that will increase your leptin signaling, your thyroid hormone output if you're feeling sluggish, cold body temperature, things like that. Digestion's not very good. Or you can do it through fats, surprisingly. The fats will just push the proteins further towards gluconeogenesis if the protein is in chronic elevation, which will turn it into glucose eventually, not to a great degree, downstream, and that will elevate insulin levels, which again upregulates the enzymes and hormones involved in increasing metabolic rate. The third way, which I think is the best, is just increasing the protein. So your digestion will be slower that day, yes, but what it will do is it will still, in excess, convert the protein into glucose. But I'm talking very high protein, not just 10 grams extra. I'm talking like you're eating double meat portions, sort of thing. Any excess will be turned into glucose through the carbonation of the backbone, and the glycerol attached to it. That's in regards to carbohydrates, I believe. And what will happen? Then that'll fuel the ATP system, which revs it back up again. Then, yeah, so, in terms of carb cycling, I don't do it. I don't recommend it. I don't see the need for it, really. Unless there was an Eddie Hall who needed to bump up their intake by thousands of calories, whatever. But for me, I just do a fat cycling approach. So it might be I'm on a prep diet for 4 weeks. Then one Sunday, they might add in 50 to 100 grams of fat that day. And that'll keep things moving. It'll increase gastric motility. So if your digestion is actually slow, having a bit more protein, a bit more fat can sometimes actually increase the speed, because when you've got more food in your system, your insulin levels are higher, which activates enzymes in your gut, which stimulate peristalsis, so the mobilization of things through your enteric system, your gut, basically your intestines. So there's different uses for it, but I would just do the same through protein and fat. Just have a cheat day where you eat lots of sausages dripped in lard rather than chicken breast sort of thing.
Yeah.
Simple.
I got about two minutes
of...
left here, Jonathan. I gotta jump on another call here. Yeah.
I'll see if I can find one question. Try to find a quick one. Okay, so this will be the last question today, guys. Thanks very much for asking, joining in. So it's from my girlfriend Jo. Max, in an answer somewhat to your question, I could train fasted when I would be OMAD in the evenings, but now I'm back at work full time. Haven't had any energy for workouts. She's got fibromyalgia, very tired. She works hard, but she works at a desk, so she's got a lot of time idle. She's not very mobile like me. She has a few disabilities. She's trying to lose weight. She's using a GLP-1. Does OMAD for the most part of the time. Carnivore diet, 90% strict, like better than most people, I think. So,
yeah.
Don't know if you've got an answer to that, but
yeah, I wonder. So, what's the main goal? To keep losing weight? Obviously, if she's on a GLP-1, I'm sure it's more weight loss. That's her primary goal.
Yeah.
Right.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean, her main thing is like health improvement. Like if you put like two together, it's like 90% wants to improve health, 50% wants to improve body weight.
Yeah. So it sounds like, I mean, if she's asking this question, then does this mean she's stalled out? Like she says, I can train fasted when I would eat OMAD in the evenings, but now I'm back at work full time. I find I don't have, my main goal is health improvement. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's a tricky one. It sounds like you are currently doing all the right things. Is the main issue now that she's back at work that she doesn't have the time to work out? Is that the deal? Because, even if you're sitting at a desk all day, just try to get, like, if you got a lunch break, you don't have to go out and do some crazy workout on a lunch break, but you could go out and go for a walk. You know what I mean? You could go out and do something. And what I always tell people is your workouts, it doesn't have to be some big production, right? You don't have to get on the workout stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you can go and you can do like walking lunges in a hall. Like, I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but like, if there's a will, there's a way. Like, yes, I have no energy at all. My job is mentally exhausting. Got it. Understood. It might be beneficial to add in a meal at some point throughout the day. Like, if you could work out
that's what we experimented with recently.
Yeah.
So, I know sometimes she falls off it, but with her, because the one meal she can hit that satiety point.
Yeah.
Big plate of food. She's not got to think about it the rest of the day. That's the appeal to her.
Yeah.
I mean, fibromyalgia is it's a syndrome. It's an amalgamation of lots of different symptoms. You can try firing them all at once, or you can just do all the main pillars of like biohacky sort of stuff and see what works. But yeah, I'll have a chat with Jo behind the scenes, because I know we've got to leave now. But do thank everyone for joining us today on the first live stream. Remember to get your questions in early, so next time we can answer them as best as we can. And we're going to be looking to do this roughly every week. There may be special guests on, as well as, of course, myself and Max here. So thanks so much for joining, guys, and we'll see you next time. Cheers. There we go. Hello.